Ladies and gentlemen, a good afternoon to all of you from a beautiful sunny winter's day in Cape Town. My name is Johan Hatting. I am the Deputy Dean for Postgraduate Studies in the Faculty of Law, and I'd like to warmly welcome all of you to this postgraduate celebration ceremony in the Faculty of Law. Before we start, may I please ask that you keep your microphones and videos switched off for the duration of the ceremony until you are invited by the Dean to switch them on. I'd like to start by extending a very warm welcome to all our graduates today, to their families, their loved ones, and to members of staff who are joining us. Let me begin by saying and acknowledging the disappointment that many of us might feel about the fact that we have to celebrate graduation online. We are doing our best to recreate something of the pomp and ceremony associated with this most joyous and crowning academic achievement in the career of any student. I can assure you we take solace in the fact that our students have achieved a remarkable feat to persevere and to finish their studies in most unusual and often regrettably trying circumstances. But we feel enormous pride in having this event nonetheless in this environment. I would like to remind you all that the main graduation ceremony takes place at 6 o'clock today, and you should all have received the details to log into that event. This ceremony will last for approximately half an hour, and we will hear shortly from the Dean of the Faculty of Law and also our supervisors of our PhD graduates. And with that, I'd like to hand over to the Dean of the Faculty, Professor Danwood Chilwa.
Thank you, Professor Hatting. It's a great pleasure to see you all here at this pre-graduation event. I would like to welcome once again all members of staff who have come and joined this pre-graduation event. Special welcome to parents and family, and even more special welcome to the graduating students. Postgraduate studies requires special degree of commitment. Some of you joined while you were working, and either you continued to work or you studied part-time. Some of you parked job-seeking endeavors in order to study, to continue studying, to do the postgraduate studies. Some of you had to leave your jobs, your families, in order to focus on this. The many reasons why people decide to seek postgraduate studies. Some it is to increase their chances of a better job. Some is to take a break from some is to advance knowledge. And I hope that having gone through these studies, whichever program you were pursuing, you have become a better human being. You've been equipped, or you've equipped yourself with new knowledge, but also advanced skills in the field of law. And that you will continue to your interest in further studies, in studying, in reading, in research, in trying to approach the law from an intellectual perspective. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, this has happened in the morning as well in Crema. The internet has been misbehaving. I hope I'm back online. So some of you started this journey quite a while ago, especially the doctoral students. You went through protests. and all of you completed these studies in this past year where we had the COVID pandemic. You faced many daunting challenges. Some, I can see the names here, struggled with funding. Some had personal problems of all kinds, but you have overcome all of those challenges. It requires a special commitment to do postgraduate degrees, especially the research degrees in particular. Now, here we are, you have earned your degree from no other institution than UCT. So in this graduation, we have 9 postgrad diplomas. We have 127 master's degrees in various specializations. There are general master's degree, master of law degrees, qualifications. There are also specializations in commercial law, dispute resolution, intellectual property, labor law, environmental law, marine law, shipping law, and tax law. We also have a number of Master of Philosophy qualifications. There are 11 doctoral qualifications here in this graduation. Now, all of you deserve all the congratulations in the world for the degree that you have qualified for. Especially given what was going on last year and the many challenges that you have faced. So at this stage, I would like to ask members of staff who are with us here to switch on their mics so that we record our congratulations to the students who are graduating this evening. That,
Prof, you're muted.
Sorry, I don't know from what point. So for graduates, for you to succeed, you relied on the support of many people, including parents, whether it is also spouses, husbands, wives, uncles, grandparents, brothers and sisters, everyone who played a role in supporting you in whatever way. Would like you to switch on the mics and clap hands for them to indicate participation. You also received tuition, support, supervision from academic staff, but also there were many supporting staff who attended to your problems or assisted you along the way. And I would like you to acknowledge their work. And so switch on the mic again and clap hands in recognition and on. Thank you very much. Okay, now you've gotten your degree and you have something added to whether you already had a law degree, whether you didn't have a law degree before, but you join the legal community, whether it is local, international, you join to a big legal profession out there to which you have responsibilities. Your responsibility is to serve the law, to serve the cause of justice. It's a special responsibility because law is the hallmark of society. Without law, society will break down. And lawyers perform various functions in the legal field, whether it's making the law, drafting the laws, enforcing the laws, interpreting the laws, prosecuting cases, representing clients, advising companies, all those functions. And because of the degrees that you've got, the specializations that you have, we expect at least that you will help to improve these fields, even gain more experience and exposure, so that you can expand your knowledge and serve justice in those specific fields. It is one thing to get a law degree and advance oneself and their family. It is another to use it for greater causes, so that society becomes better. We hope you will do this. And because you come from UCT, you have a UCT degree, some of you 2 or 3 degrees, that comes with an added responsibility, because we are known as the best law faculty on the continent. People expect you to act like someone who got a UCT degree. So people will not say, did you really get a degree from UCT? So that comes with a lot of responsibility. And finally, you now will form part of a community of UCT alumni, and which carries specific responsibilities as well. You will be expected to act like a UCT alumni, even if you don't do anything else, but just acting with distinction, with integrity, will do a lot to advance the UCT name. You could do more and be continue to be involved in the activities of the faculty, and to support students who remain here, but those that will come from for many years from here. So with these words, I would like to congratulate all of you for the degrees that you have got. But at this stage, I would like to invite the Deputy Dean to recognize in particular students who have performed exceptionally well in their postgraduate diplomas and master's degrees. Back to you, Professor Harting.
Thank you very much, Dean. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a particular achievement for students to graduate with distinction in these days that we are living through. And so it gives me great pleasure to read out the names of those students who will graduate tonight with a distinction. So for the Masters of Law degree, Adebowale Adedayo Aluko and Johannes Wendland. For a distinction in the Master of Laws in Commercial Law, Charlotte Sophie Grapel, David Gerhardus Joubert, Sister Kashala, Beatrice Joyce Moyo, and Shannon Ann O'Brien. For a distinction in the degree Master of Laws in Dispute Resolution, Kilian Andreas Popov. For a distinction in the degree Master of Laws in Environmental Law, Caitlin Dunn. In the degree Master of Laws in Intellectual Property Law, a distinction to Julian Wernicke. Distinctions in the degree Master of Laws in Labor Law, Kristen Rosetta Hare and Charlton John Fisage. A distinction in the degree Master of Laws in Marine and Environmental Law goes to Chiara Graniker. And then for distinctions in the postgraduate diploma in law, Renata First Dalvao and Wilhelmina Saunders. Many congratulations to all of these candidates and of course to their supervisors. Thank you, Professor Cheba.
Thank you very much for that. Congratulations once again for those that performed that well and have been recognized as such, but also to all of the graduating students. At this stage, I would like also to pay special tribute to those who spent 3 to 4, 5 or so years on one topic, working hard, being pushed this way and that way by supervisors, to getting and completing the PhD. And we have 11. I will name the students and then their supervisors will be invited to say a word about them. Just less than a minute. The first is Catherine Ord. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. Professor Ferris was the supervisor. Thank you, Prof.
That's correct.
Thank you. Are you able to say something?
Yes, thank you very much, Dean. So just quickly, something about Kathleen. She's from Cape Town, and she's got two passions in life, and that's the environment and a love for the English language. And I think that came through very strongly in her PhD. Her thesis focused on the problems that faces small-scale fishers and how the development challenges of this group can best be provided for in international trade agreements. And so what she has developed in her thesis is a set of, or a framework of development needs for small-scale fishers, which can be applied in future international trade agreement. And I think her thesis will make an important contribution, given that these negotiations are ongoing. And I have no doubt that given her passion for the environment, her ability to work very hard, Kathleen will be in future a change maker in this area of work. It was truly an honor to be her supervisor. And maybe just to give the full title of the thesis to end off, it's titled Sustainable Development of Small-Scale Fisheries and the Need for Strong Measures to Protect Small-Scale Fisheries in International Trade. Thank you, Danwood.
Thank you very much. Fantastic. Really appreciate. Jonathan Kogi, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Professor DeVos and Professor Muhammad Palika are the supervisors. Who is going to speak about the graduate and the topic? Prof. Palika or Professor DeVos? Yeah.
David, I'm happy to say a few words about John Kikoga.
Yes, please.
He wrote the thesis titled Inheritance and Redistribution, Exploring the Constitutional Commitment Towards Redistribution in the Private Law of Succession. It's a very important thesis because in this thesis he challenged some of the dogmatic principles relating to freedom of testation and how they came into existence since the advent of our democracy. He looked very critically at the property clause in our constitution and found that to a large extent the property clause was applied very mechanically in the laws of succession. And he argued for a more pragmatic interpretation that would result in social justice, poverty alleviation, as well as redistribution of property in South Africa. It's a wonderful thesis. It's very well written. John T. I discovered writes very beautifully. And as far as my time with him, as well as Professor DeVos, who was the supervisor too, we really had a lot of fun working with John T. What I discovered about him as a person is that he's an incredibly kind person. During the time that I supervised him, I saw him become a father of 2 children. And I must say that I would not regard John T. simply as a student, but also as a lifelong friend. And I hope that in the future that he will not disappear from our lives completely, that we will always keep in touch. But I do sincerely hope that he will continue to write and engage in academic work, because I think it would be a great loss if he stopped doing it after having completed this wonderful PhD that he has now submitted, and which is passed and which is graduating today. So congratulations to John T. Congratulations to his family as well, to his wife, who was his great supporter. And then, of course, I have to thank my fellow supervisor, Professor Pierre DeVos, who was just wonderful to work with. And I hope I'll get a chance to work with him again in the future. So thank you, Professor Chirwa. That's all I've got to say. I'm not sure if Professor De Vos wants to say anything further.
Thank you very much, Professor Palek. That was such a wonderful tribute to the candidate. I'm sorry, Professor De Vos, we will not give you a chance, but I know that you also had such a wonderful experience supervising Jonathan. I think that the candidates could switch on their videos when you're being introduced. I'm sorry I didn't do so. We can see. We may have seen you in the building, but it's been a long time since we haven't been seeing each other face to face. So to remind ourselves. So the next graduate is Karin Lehman, who is our colleague, and I was privileged to be a supervisor. It was really a wonderful experience working with her, partly because what she was writing about I had no idea about. So it's such a curious thing, intriguing thing to supervise something that you don't know, but it had something to do with the Constitution. And so I learned a lot from this thesis, and I think more colleagues should have a look at it because it governs the distribution of death benefits under the pensions fund. So all of us are affected by this thesis, and she argues that that section, the way it governs the distribution of death benefits, is probably unconstitutional and requires revision. And it's worth looking at because we don't look into our affairs when we are not here because we expect to live longer, but we live in very uncertain times. So this thesis was wonderful. It was a pleasure to work with Karin Lehman. She writes so lucidly and clearly. I learned a lot from her style of writing, research, and in fact, commitment and a sense of perfection that she brought to bear on this. Her title, the thesis title was The Distribution of Retirement Fund Death Benefits, an analysis of the equitability and the constitutionality of Section 37C of the Pension Funds Act 24 of 1956. Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure working with you, Karin. I really learned a lot from this experience. The next candidate is Ogochukwu Monye. I hope I pronounced it well. Professor Ada Odor and Silindile Buteris were the supervisors, but Professor Ada Odor will speak to the candidate.
Dean, are we skipping Clement Marumoge?
No, I would do it because I'm trying to locate my notes.
All right. Okay. So thank you very much. Speaking briefly about Ogochukwu Monye, whose thesis was on the topic, Rethinking the Legal and Institutional Framework for Digital Financial Inclusion in Nigeria. If I were to describe Ogo in 3 words, I would say focused, purposeful, persevering. She doesn't go with the flow, rather, if the river comes her way, she shapes the flow. Very hardworking and has resulted in this thesis. Ogo, in the time that she was busy with her doctoral research, won the Udo Reifner Prize for Best Abstract by a young scholar at the International Association of Consumer Law Conference, held at the McKinney School of Law, Indiana University. And a book proposal based on her thesis has recently been accepted by Routledge Publishers for publication as a monograph. So we expect a book by Ogo in 2022. And well done, Ogo, and congratulations to you, your parents, to your mother, Professor Felicia Monye, who I believe is on this call. And kudos, and we look forward to seeing more and hearing more and reading more from you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Odo, for that. Now I can go back to Clement Marumohae. I hope I'm pronouncing it well, Clement. The supervisor was Professor Amanda Barrett. She is not able to be here today, but she has sent a note. He says that she is sorry to miss this occasion today. She enjoyed working with Clement over the past few years. She's very proud of his achievement. The thesis was about the adjudication of child relocation disputes in South Africa. So this is something that is in my area. I'm so curious about this. I want to read it once it is online. So the thesis focused on the way in which judges adjudicate child relocation disputes where one parent wishes to leave South Africa with children and the other opposes the proposed relocation. So the thesis examines many decided cases and demonstrates that judges use very wide discretion when deciding cases of this sort. Judges have emphasized particular factors, but in some contexts, but sometimes consider the same factors insignificant to reach alternative outcomes. So her argument is that the amendment to the Children's Act he proposes amendments to the Children's Act in order to improve the principles to bring about more clarity. He argues also for the establishment of a legislative mechanism to enable judges to identify, select, and weigh adequately the competing factors in child relocation disputes so that there is proper decision making. So once again, Clement, congratulations on your thesis. The next candidate graduate is Godnose Modimo, and the supervisors were Emma Fergus and Professor Harry Mostert. I think there's a message also here, both.
Danwood, sorry, may I interrupt you? I am here.
Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Shall I go ahead? I hope everyone can hear me. It suddenly seems quite soft on my side, but nevertheless, God knows, well done. You've worked so hard and you really deserve this title. From the first time that you were a student in my collective labour law class in 2014, and I would add one of the top students, you have been impressive in your diligence and your commitment to completing your degrees. You've also at all times maintained a very polite and extremely friendly demeanour, which I applaud you for, because I don't think it is very easy when people are nitpicking your extremely hard work. So just briefly about your degree, and then I need to read something that Henry has written for you, or Prof, I should say, as you call her. Your degree, for everybody else's purposes or knowledge information, focused on codes of conduct in the mining industry with a specific lens of labour law. So you were looking at assessing the effectiveness of codes of conduct in the mining industry with respect to certain labour rights. And what was found was that, at least to some extent, or I would dare say to a large extent, this was really a matter of window dressing rather than implementing effective protection against violations of certain key labour rights. And this is an important finding which we hope will contribute to the drive to encourage and engage mining employers and mining houses to make sure that they are actually treating their mining workers fairly. I'm going to, just in the interest of time, now have a quick read of what Henry has written to you or written for you. But I just want to say congratulations again. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you, and I hope that we will keep in touch going forward. So Henry has said, Godnose Francois Modimo joined the SACHI Chair in Mineral Law in Africa as one of its first PhD researchers. He soon became a pillar of the chair's program. His work on voluntary codes of conduct, supervised by Dr. Fergus and myself, developed steadily while he threw himself heart and soul into the building of the discipline for which the MLIA was created. Godno shared with us his warm, open nature. He's a people person. His radar for interpersonal dynamics is highly developed, and he knows how to use his delightful sense of humor to diffuse situations. It's that sense of humor, I think, that helped us all stay calm when the whole MLIA team got stranded in Dar es Salaam in 2019 when SAA grounded their fleet. In situations like that, you need a God-knows in your life. And somehow, one always feels a bit better about yourself and the world after you've had an interaction with him. God-knows has joined the team of Richard Spoor attorneys at the beginning of this year, and will be putting his doctoral expertise and his very special set of personal qualities to work in service of our nation's and our continent's neglected mining communities. We wish him well on his new journey, and we know he'll be taking everything he's learned as a doctoral student with him on his life's path. As with all other completing students, I'd like to give God-knows a special quote from the world's greatest philosopher, Dr. Seuss. You know what you know, and you are the one who'll decide where to go. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. And that's it. Well done to all the graduates, and from our side, particularly to you, God-knows.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So among these 11, there are quite a number of graduates who are actually academics. So Karin Lehman was one of them. Clement, the one that I introduced a short while ago, is an associate professor at the School of Law at Wits. And the next graduate, Lynette Sitole, also supervised by Professor Barrett, is also an academic who is a lecturer at Midland State University in Zimbabwe. Wrote a thesis on women's rights to access family planning and maternal health care services in Hwangwe Rural District in Zimbabwe. She was looking at the challenges and opportunities that are available there. The thesis investigated the question of the factors that impede women from accessing such services and the potential opportunities to alleviate those limitations. It was based on an empirical study, and the findings show that knowledge of reproductive health care rights and in at least that district is lacking. There are restrictive laws, physical barriers, and many other challenges. And the study looks at the laws and policies and recommends several measures to be taken in order to improve the situation. So again, Professor Barrett says she's not able to come to this occasion, but she enjoyed working with Lynette over the past few years and is very proud of her achievement. So congratulations, Lynette, for your work that you did. That's very interesting piece of work worth looking at. The next person, I'll go first to Angela Stevens, and Professor Yates, Jacqueline Yates is a supervisor. I'm sure you're here. Could you introduce the graduate?
Absolutely, thank you, Dean. I couldn't be more delighted actually to introduce to you my PhD graduate. She's actually my first PhD graduate, Angela Stevens, today. Her thesis is entitled Enforceable Accountability, a Corporate Governance Mirage for South African State-Owned Companies. And it deals with accountability, or the lack thereof, in state-owned companies in South Africa from a corporate governance perspective. She very clearly and effectively identified various cracks and lacunae and deficiencies in our legal system, And then she set about to create a framework with concrete proposals as to how we could improve accountability in our state-owned enterprises, in the process doing some very interesting work with respect to SAA and just applying the law and the theory of what she had unearthed to the practicalities there. So I think we'll all agree this accountability, state-owned companies, it's a very timely, very important, very necessary piece of valuable research, and I have no doubt that what she has produced will have a significant public impact. On a personal level, Angela made the task of supervising her PhD an absolute pleasure. She was thorough, she was insightful, diligent, organized, and she was eternally cautiously optimistic, which I appreciate. As I got to know Angela better over the last number of years, I realized also that underneath that happy-go-lucky exterior is an insightful academic with a core of steely determination and huge amounts of grit. She really can push and push back hard when she feels strongly about something. But at the end of the day, she just gets on with it. So it only surprised me slightly to learn that while she was completing her PhD, she was also in full-time legal practice as an attorney, completed a number of extreme half Ironman sports events, and in fact was consulting part-time as a writing tutor in our postgraduate writing center. Language and writing are clearly one of her passions, and she writes extremely well. So I feel privileged to have been able to be a part of Angela's PhD journey, and I wish her every success in the future. I'm sure, I hope we haven't seen the last of one another, Angela, and that our collaborations will continue in the future. And I'm very pleased to be able to say congratulations to you, Dr. Angela Stevens, and to all our other graduates. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Professor Yates. The next person, Stephen Smith, whom I jumped. I was trying to locate my notes. Both Professor Trevor Emsley and Professor Tracy Gutuza are not available to attend this occasion.
Sorry, Danwood. Can I pop in? I am here.
Sorry. Thank you very much. I give you the opportunity to introduce the graduate. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Dean. And so I'm really chuffed to be able to introduce Stephen. I joined Stephen's journey right at the end. And I'm really grateful to Stephen and Advocate Emsley for allowing me to join this journey. So Stephen's thesis is in a really complex area of law, dealing with financial derivative instruments, which in itself is a complex area. And so he unpacks those, the concept of a financial derivative instrument, and then in addition to that, deals with the taxation of those instruments. So a seriously complex area of law. And what he does is, which I suppose makes it more interesting, is that he does a case law analysis of this using for tax lawyers that know this, a 1992 case, Pick and Pay Employee Share Trust, and uses that case to analyze the taxation of these derivative instruments. So a really great piece of work on a really complex area of law. And so this is what Stephen does on a daily basis, deals with these complex areas, and he writes about it in a really lucid and clear manner. I suspect that his thesis is going to be a reference for many who are interested in this area, in both tax lawyers and those dealing in finance law, in attempting to understand this concept not only of financial derivative instruments, but also the taxation involved. Stephen, serious congratulations. Really a great piece of work. Well done.
Thank you very much, Professor Gutuza. I was so scared to introduce that work because it's so technical. So thank you very much for bearing me out there. The next is another academic, Tebelo Tabane, who is our colleague, supervised by Professor Nube and Dr. Idenson. I don't know who is going to do the introduction. Is it? It seems it's Professor Nube.
I had prepared Dean to speak for 60 seconds and to allow my co-supervisor the remaining 60 seconds, if you will. Okay, great. So I wanted to kick off with the phrase winning team, and I'll tell you why. But before I tell you why I said winning team, just to read to you the title of Tebelo's thesis. It is The Ownership and Control Architecture of South Africa's State-Owned Companies and Its Impact on Corporate Governance. So Tebelo is very well known to us in the faculty, amongst the staff at least, as a colleague. He may not be so well known to other fellow graduates this afternoon. So I'll take a second to introduce him. Tebelo is a steady pillar in the faculty, in the Department of Commercial Law, dependable, affable colleague. As a PhD candidate, he was a dream. And this is why I said a winning team. So when we received the email from the DDB to say that his results were in and he had passed, I wrote back, I'm so proud and pleased to be part of this winning team, because that is precisely how it felt to walk this PhD journey with Tebelo. I felt that I was on a team with him and Kathy and that everything worked superbly well. And many times he actually led the team. So the work, he's no doubt the expert amongst us three on this topic. Brilliant. We learned a lot from him. And I think that his work is really going to be instrumental and influential in the country and on the continent at large, because he writes about state-owned enterprises. And I need say nothing further, because we know that a lot of the troubles that we face, first of all, in South Africa and the rest of the continent, is precisely on the governance of state-owned enterprises. And this is why his work is so, so very important. I'll stop here. Very pleased, very proud to have been part of this winning team. And Kathy, if you're here, I'm sure I've left you at least 60 seconds to say something as well.
Thanks, Caroline. I think Caroline said it all, Tebelo, except to add congratulations. It was a very impressive piece of work, and you were an absolute pleasure in all respects to supervise. Well done.
Thank you very much, both Dr. Adamson and Professor Ngube. The last but not the least graduate is Totang Tsietsi, supervised by Professor Faizo Ishmael and Professor Ada Odor. I believe Professor Odor is going to introduce the graduate.
Yes, thank you, Dean. So Totang Tsietsi was principally supervised by Professor Faizo Ismail, former South African ambassador to the World Trade Organization. She was co-supervised by me. Now, Totang brings to mind synonyms of the word perfection. Think of meticulous, painstaking, thoughtful, thorough. Those are the words that I think of when I think of Totang, and of course, whenever I see any written work of hers. She always strove to get her things in order. Nearly good enough, nearly there was not adequate for her. It had to be well done, it had to be complete. And so well done, Totang, because these qualities have landed you where you are today. In the course of her research, her doctoral research, Totang found time to do a poster presentation at the International Conference of the International Society of Economic Law in Washington, D.C. in 2018. She was also selected for a 2-week program with the African Program on Rethinking Development Economics in Pretoria, where the team that she led, working on Sino-African investment, placed second in the competition done there. The title of Totang's thesis is Trade Facilitation in the Southern African Development Community, the Potential Contribution of the World Trade Organization's Trade Facilitation Agreement. And Totang conducted empirical research on the Lesotho border, where a lot of the trade, the imports and exports go through. Totang is also an academic at the National University of Lesotho. Well done, Totang, and apologies from Professor Ismail, who could not make it on account of a very pressing prior fixture. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Professor Odor. At this stage, we have finished with all the formalities. Let me congratulate all the graduates once again For those that are qualifying with a doctorate, in an hour, 2 hours time, you will be entitled to call yourself doctor. Not yet. I saw in the comment someone saying, congratulations, Dr. Soso. Not yet, until the formality is done an hour and a half from now. At this stage, please take note of the comment that has been posted by Ms. Gabi Ricci about UCT and its alumni. If you graduate with a degree from us, we will be in touch with you, but you can also be in touch with us. You form part of the family called UCT alumni. I mentioned this, but there is a comment there. Please take a look. At this stage, I would like to invite all the graduates to put on your mics and make the loudest noise at this stage. Please put on your mics and you can put on yours.